your attendance here. First of all, I would like to thank PRF for this beautiful and lovely, well organized, and especially I would like to thank UNEX to host us and having us in all these days.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bogdan. I am the GM and head of coffee of Crown Muscat International. We have a company in Oman. We are roasting coffee quite 1.5 years now, but we are in the coffee industry since 2007.
I'm Mostafa El-Saliid from Egypt. I am importer of green coffee. I have a roastery, I roast, and I supply green coffee in Egypt.
I would like to apologize on behalf of Anthony that he could not make it today. He had some issues with the visa. So, Anthony sends regards.
So we're gonna have some points to discuss today about Middle East coffee. Middle East coffee, Middle East market is huge, but a little bit different. We're gonna discuss how it's different and how huge is it. The history of coffee in Middle East and especially in Egypt. Egypt have a big history about coffee in the 15th century. We were having the coffee in 15th century with the Ethiopian students in Egypt, and then the case will change until in the 19th century and the 20th century. Egypt become little bit tea market more than coffee market, and from the 21st century, Egypt started to have the coffee is booming and the coffee market is starting to recover and coming now like not like the tea market, but it's starting to boom again. And we're gonna see now how it's booming and what is the type of coffee in Egypt.
So in Middle East, there is two, I would say there are like two maps. There is the GCC countries like Saudi, UAE, Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Qatar, which they use a type of coffee which is super light roast. They do this for a long time, from father to son. They pass this tradition. And there is a particular a guy who is roasting for the full family. He's the one who purchased the green beans. He's the one who's roasting it, and he's the one to make the coffee. So the Arabic coffee, as I said, is the opposite of Egypt, Lebanon,
Turkey, Jordan.
So they use Turkish coffee, which is dark roast, super fine. And in the GCC countries, they use a light roast and super coarse coffee. And it's like it has like a tea-like color, so it's a super light.
And let me give you a hint about the Egyptian, and because in Middle East we can say that we are divided in two types of coffee. As Bogdan said, that in Egypt, Turkey, Jordan, and Lebanon, we use traditional coffee like Turkey coffee. It's different in the grind, in the roasting, in the cupping. Everything is different. Even it's more commercial. We use a lot of Robusta. We do a blend, so it's different. For example, in Arabia Saudiya, in Dubai, they use Arabic coffee. And both of us, we put spices in coffee. We put cardamom. I am also a supplier of cardamom from Guatemala. We put it in our coffee in Egypt, and we have a plain coffee. We have with cardamom coffee. The coffee is very fine, and the coffee should be very heavy and very creamy. So this is a hint about our coffee. In the Middle East, we divide by two.
The Arabic coffee, they do it in a way that they add also some rose water. They add as well the cardamom, so it's very flavorful. And since it's a light roast, I think their sensory level is very high. They are well prepared to try coffees. So the palate of Arab people, it's well prepared for cupping good cup of coffees.
Now let me explain some numbers in order to see what this graph is saying about the market. You know, for example, Egypt is a huge market, but the power of the purchasing power is not big or powerful like in Saudi. So for the specialty coffee, we're still not coming now for the specialty coffee, but we are coming. And the Egyptian market, we are 100 million of persons, so it's a huge market. Everyone loves to enter. And always I say that if we success in the Egyptian market, you're going to be very successful because we have a lot of population in Egypt, especially. But now we are talking in traditional coffee, not specialty coffee in Egypt till now. But I can say that we are coming. But for the number, for example, if you see in 22, Egypt is 100 million, and they buy 1,003,144 bags. According, for example, if you see Turkey, they are 85 million in Turkey, and they use 2,003,070 bags. So the number says here that we are still in the coffee is starting to boom. We are still Egypt divided into tea market and coffee market. We are not an alcoholic market, for example. So, for example, in the market, we are only coffee or tea.
I would say these numbers, if you look at the numbers since 2010 until 2022, there is a 300% growth. That's massive. So that's clearly a message that people are moving from the tea towards coffee. And that's a very important fact. These numbers, we get it from partners of which are green beans traders. And some of these numbers, they might double because maybe from UAE, they export to Saudi, or from Saudi, they export to UAE or Oman or any other country. So there is no, let's say, clear statistics if are the real numbers. Probably we are thinking that there is a 10% lower because they are re-exported in the Middle East countries. And as you can see, in the first years, maybe was the commodities, so 2010, 2015. But since 2015, the specialty coffee was on everybody's mouths. So everybody was looking for a specialty coffee shop. A lot of coffee shop chains open since 2014 onwards. And chains, big chains, local chains, and international chains as well. But usually the local chains are the one who created these volumes because international brands, they just import roasted coffee. We are talking about the green imports over here. And local chains are huge, especially in Saudi and UAE. The other countries are a little bit smaller, but they are growing as well. I know Oman is growing a lot. In the last, let's say, 5 years. I remember in 2011 when I started with CMI. We are talking just general coffee, nothing related to specialty. So it was full automatic machines. In 2012, 2013, we started the project of selling traditional coffee, Arabic traditional coffee. And it was surprisingly going well because we reached in, let's say, a year to sell around 10 tons of roasted coffee, traditional coffee. That was huge, but the market moved on, and now the percentage of specialty or high-grade coffees is much bigger. People, they start to get educated they start to learn that there are better coffees out there. They are looking for specialty. They are ready to pay for a better coffee instead to save money. So they prefer to have better 2 cups of coffee, but to be a specialty coffee instead of having 4 bad coffees, I would say. That's the message, what we receive from customers.
Also, I want to focus on another number. For example, let's see here in Saudi, there are 40 million persons. And look at the numbers of bags. I think it's similar or maybe more than the Egyptian importer. Let me tell you that I am importer in Egypt. I import 15 containers to 20 containers, 20 feet per month. And I'm not the biggest one of importing coffee in Egypt. I can say that 99 or 95% of coffee entering Egypt are commercial. In these 20 containers, we can say I can take 20 bags only from specialty coffee. And also, if you see Egypt from 2010 and 2022, the market is going up, but in commercial, not in specialty. In Egypt, we don't have only coffee shops and a few coffee shops for specialty coffee. We had more than 100,000 coffee shops in Egypt. We can say 5 only in Egypt are for specialty coffee. In Egypt, if you enter for the luxurious hotel or for the best hotel or the luxurious places, if you ask for siphon or for Chemex, no one can present it. No one knows it. So this is new to Egypt. We are still in the traditional coffee, which is very commercial.
So as I was saying in the previous slide, the coffee shops, you can see the coffee shop chains impact on the coffee imports compared 2018 to 2019. There is a big wave over there, I would say like a tsunami. And the same thing happened 2020 to 2021. The graph speaks by itself. And on the next slide, we'll have some talks about the forecast. Yes, we can go because we already discussed. Okay. Yeah. So I wanted to mark from 2018 and up to 2027. You can see the big height in 2018 and 2021. We consider there is a continuous growth for the next 5 years from 2023 to 2027, but it's not going to be as big as it was before, because once coffee became like a social thing and became social thing. Also, Middle East countries, they usually Muslims, they don't drink alcohol, so coffee or tea, it's their beverage of the day, and in the evening they can drink coffee even at 12 o'clock night, so they have no problems. You will see full coffee shops. The coffee shops are really full even at midnight, and you'll see a lot of drive-thrus. It grows a lot in the petrol station, and you'll see huge queues waiting for coffee. But as from the statistic what we got, the growth is there, but it's not going to be that huge in the next 5 years, but it will be steady going up. And the trend is that every year, every 2 years, there will be a huge change in the commodity and specialty. So specialty will gain a lot of track, and commodity will go a little bit lower. But still, the major part of the coffee sales are commodity, around 70%, as we understood. And And I think things will change in the next 5 years. It will reach around something 50-50, which is good.
But imagine, Bogdan, that Egypt is focusing more now in coffee. Imagine where the number is going to go. So, as I said, that coffee is starting to boom because coffee in Egypt is more trendy. People, even if they are not the best for cupping or for the drinker of coffee, but it's coming because they are trendy. Now the market of tea is going down. It's the opposite of this analysis.
So I'm happy for you because you're an importer, so that means you'll make more money. So that's
But
fine.
for commercial, no.
But I would say that it might be. I hope for you and for even for the farmers that that line goes like this. The thing is, what have we seen? I think what happens now in Egypt and some of the countries is what happened in the Middle East since 2012-13 onwards. It means like now when Egypt starts to understand coffee, they will have a very short period on the commodity and they will just go directly to specialty coffee, which is a good thing. So you need to be ready as an importer.
That means that this market is huge and very important, the Middle East. And let's to keep up let's catch the point that Mohammed is discussing about the problem of importing in Egypt, because we face a big problem now in Egypt of importing because of the global economic crisis of the currency. So now Egypt is putting a lot of effort to support the export, not to the import. So now the import, it's very difficult. We pay a lot of taxes. So even if we receive the coffee or any products, the prices is going very up because of taxes. So the imports now, we face a lot of difficulty to import.
I understand. I remember like 6 months back, we from Oman we wanted to send some coffees in Egypt, and actually it was almost impossible. Roasted or green, doesn't matter.
Roasted in Egypt we pay a lot of taxes, but if you take it green, we don't pay taxes as roasted. So that's why people prefer to import green, and even if they don't have roastery, they roast in another roastery. You got it?
Yeah, that's good. That means I can move also in Egypt and start to sell roasters as well. That's a good point. I think we can move to the next.
But tell me first, Bogdan, about the area of Emirates and Oman. Do you think that it's enough for the coffee there and for anyone there to open a market outside, or still there is opportunity? And because I know that, for example, in Dubai, everyone wants to open a coffee shop, everyone wants to roast. So now the competition is very high. And in the market, as Mohammed said, it's not as we thought that everyone is going to Dubai, is going to be big. What do you think?
So the question is if the market is saturated, it's hard to say. It depends on multiple factors, in my opinion. First of all, is the tourism, how much tourism will grow, because I think that's a major factor which will play in the next years. Because if more tourists will come, more places need to open. Hotels will use, already in the hotel industry, we feel that also they are looking now at quality. They are, hotel chains, they start to work with local roasters. They want to have like in-country value thing. So Saudis, they want the Saudi roasters. UAE, they want a UAE roaster. And Oman, they want to have a roastery from Oman to have on the packet the Omani product or things like that. So that's a good thing for the local trade, for the local economy. And I think if you ask saturation, I think we reach. That's why that growth is going to be the percentage is smaller and smaller as we go further. So, based on the statistic done by Allegra, in the Middle East region, Brazil is the preference of the consumer, not the preference of the roaster. Because at the end of the day, as a roaster, you're looking at what consumer wants. So if consumer wants, and statistics say that Brazil is the favorite coffee, then you need to focus on having higher stocks on Brazil. Considering that the question was what your origin preferences are, there was like 3 answers possible. So we put the first 4 was Brazil, Ethiopia, Colombia, and Costa Rica. And then comes Kenya and, if I'm not mistaken, Honduras. Brazil usually is used, the preferences in the Middle East are like, there are a lot of milk drinks. So 70% of the sales in a coffee shop are based on milk. So you cannot put in Ethiopia. You can, but first of all, it's going to be, your cost will be super high on selling a cappuccino or a latte. But they use Brazil because, and they slightly roasted from medium to dark wood, so it can give that kick of coffee in the milk, because they have like 12-ounce, 16-ounce coffees. And they add also as well ice, because Middle East is a hot country, so they prefer cold drinks. I think iced Spanish latte is the top beverage there. Then Ethiopia, Colombia, Costa Rica, single origins are there. Usually coffee shops, they have 2 grinders, one for the milk drinks and one for the espresso. So they usually offer 2 types of coffees, and if they ask a cappuccino, they will do from Brazil. If they ask a black coffee, if they ask espresso or a double espresso, they will do the single origin, which costs a little bit more. So they want to give a better experience to customers.
Here in Egypt, the numbers is a little bit different. In Egypt, we can say in the first point, it's Indonesia, then Brazil, and Colombia, and Vietnam. And we import also from India, because, as I said at the beginning, yeah, we are making a mixed blend between Robusta and Arabica. So that's why the numbers of imported from Indonesia and India, it's bigger than Ethiopia and Colombia. And also we import from Ethiopia because for the cost of transporting it's cheaper in Egypt. So, and in Ethiopia now they started that have broker that have coffee from each city or each country, and they can export a mixed container.
Yeah. When we reach to coffee process preferences, I think definitely the natural processes, which include the fermentation process, which is last, but we wanted to keep it a little bit separate. We think that natural coffees are top, like 60%. Then is like 30% of washed, and fermented processes. They love anaerobic, natural anaerobics, carbonic macerations. To use for V60 and Chemex, so to use for brewing coffee. Then I would like to relate the last point. They are open-minded to new processes. I consider Middle East like similar with Australia. Middle East is like a sponge. They really love new things. They really love to try any new funky stuff, infusions with passion fruits, with mango, with coconut. They are looking for something, to have something special. Everybody looks to, every roaster looks to have something special, because customers, clients, coffee shops, they are looking for something special when it comes to to coffees for brew. And we reach at the last one, is the point which we didn't know Mohammed will approach so deep on the direct sales to the roasteries. He spoke from a point of view where he's buying a lot of containers. I consider myself still a micro roaster, not doing big volumes, but focusing on high quality coffees. So I would start with the middle point. So just to, let's say, add a little bit of value of what Mohammed was saying in the earlier presentation. For micro roasters, is very difficult to reach directly to the farmers. And it was a great opportunity for me to visit some farms and great guests over there. So for us, it's difficult to get small batches, micro lots, or even coffee for espresso. It's more difficult because we buy small quantities. When you buy small quantities, your logistics goes super high. And when you buy small quantities, it's useless to bring it by sea because it takes like 2.5 months, 3. And like Mohammed was saying, sometimes you have imports issue, goods are stuck in the customs, humidity is high, it can completely impact your coffee quality. And then for the big roasters, it's easy because once you buy a container, it's easy to get them. So another point is that like Mostafa is here, local green coffee traders. I know a few in Dubai, especially. There are a few local companies which they do this for 30, 40 years, and they move from commodity to specialty, but still they keep commodity as volumes so they can keep a full container. But again, the same thing, the percentage of specialty is growing for local green traders. International green coffee traders, everybody, most of the farms work with them. So that's very easy. They usually come visit the farms, make deals directly with the farmers, and then can reach to us as a micro roaster. So there is some nice warehouses like the MCC Coffee Center, which is a huge facility. And most of the international coffee traders, they have allocated a place in the warehouse. So you can get in Middle East so fast coffee. In terms of, I can have any coffee from Dubai in 2 days. So it's so helpful for micro roasters. And I think micro roasters, there are a lot of them. Like you said, Mostafa, coffee shop is opening one coffee shop, second coffee shop. At the third coffee shop, he wants to have a roastery. So he can roast for him, and he can roast also for others. So there is a lot of micro roasteries coming up from 3 kilo per batch day, just focusing on roasting for them. And then if they have a chance, they want to sell also to other coffee shops. So the MCC is a good opportunity also for, let's say, could be a good opportunity also for the big farms over here. They have great facility. They support you also on re-exporting the stuff. So it's really good. So there is one more point. The dedicated trade shows, World of Coffee Dubai, is from last 2 years. We've seen a lot of farmers visiting Dubai. I met a few cool people over there from all American countries, from Brazil, Colombia, Ethiopia as well, and we started to chat, and like Mohammed was saying, you create a relation, you build trust, and then you can start dealing. Even the cost is higher. We just For example, we bring now some coffees, micro lots from Colombia, and I'm paying just logistics like $7 to $8 per kilo just to reach to Oman. That's huge cost, impact cost in the cost.
Let's say something that in Egypt, the people responsible in specialty coffee, they need to grow this market, but they are afraid because maybe the market is not going to accept it. As I mentioned at the beginning, the market is big, and the coffee is traditional, like in Saudi, like in Dubai, but they move on. They move on, and the people were open to try a new type of coffee. For my opinion, and when we saw the numbers, why Brazil was in the first, Brazil do something very good, that they export commercial coffee and they can mix the container with specialty coffee. Some countries I didn't find this, because at the beginning I can start with the containers of specialty coffee and it can get refused in Egypt. So we need your help to have a mixed container, and here I found a lot that would love to do this in making a commercial coffee and adding some specialty coffee on the container in order to see the market how it's going to say. And also in samples that it's going to send, they said I would like for the samples to be between green and roasted, because some people that they know their coffee, how is roasted, the best thing to be roasted, because we are new in the market, so we need to know how it's roasted, and I roasted with myself and I do the comparison.
Well, on the specialty side, you just want to receive the green beans. I would prefer to have a protocol, even from the farmers, when they send the coffee, the samples to the roasteries, to their clients, if they do direct deal. I would like to have them in vacuum pack, at least 200 grams, and they should mention clearly all the details about the farm. If they have cupping notes already, to write the cupping notes, the cupping score, and to write as well, the most important thing, it will be like the moisture content, the density. If they can do water activity as well, that will be great, because it can help a roaster to compare and even to mention the machine, what they use. So for example, density and moisture content, if it's with Sinar or it's with Lightels or with the other machine which they do the measurement. So you can do, roasters usually they have 1 or 2 measurements, let's say brands of machines. We do, so we usually prefer to say when the farmer is sending the coffee to send me a lot of details. So that will give me a little bit more comfort that he knows what he's doing and he's focusing on all the details. And that's very important.
Yeah, last thing that I want to add, that as an importer, what I'm looking for is to having, for example, in the center of America or in any country, there is a broker. He gets coffee from each country, and when I can have a container, I can have from El Salvador, from Guatemala, from Colombia, from Brazil. So not one container from each country. For example, for the commercial, I can get 10 containers of one country, and it gets sold before even I receive it. But for the specialty, I need help. I need to look about a broker in this area to have a container mix from each country.
So if it's the coffee, it lose the quality while shipping, I recommend you to pay a little bit extra and put it in the Grain Pro bags or any other way to avoid. It's commodity coffee. Usually they don't use plastic bags inside. So I recommend that because it will give a longer life to the green coffee, and it will not be impacted by moisture. You know, it's coming by sea. the air, the humidity in the air can create molds inside the green. So when even commodity, I would definitely recommend to put to not vacuum pack, but definitely a grain pro bag, a plastic bag to be, and it will then when the coffee reach, you have a higher quality, so you can add value to that, and you can resell it, but you sell better quality.
Also, last thing that I can say that we can do, for example, an exhibition in Egypt, and we have all the producer. We make a cupping. We introduce the specialty coffee in the market. People even know because I see an opportunity in Egypt for specialty coffee, and people love to enter, but they are afraid because of it's expensive. And now in this moment, it's not the best moment to enter. But we need the help. We need the help, and we need to approach the communication.
I think GCC countries or the Arab countries in the Saudi and lower side, I think all the roasters invested in training people, educating people, supporting the local community. So the key word I would say for Egypt, if you want, will be to create an education center, to start to educate your clients from roasteries or end user like coffee shops. And once they start to implement better quality coffees, I'm sure they would prefer to have a good quality coffee with the same or lower margin. Some of the coffee shop, they really want to have something else. This thing will come, should come everywhere, that I want to be different than my neighbor. I want to be different than the other coffee shop chain. How I do that? You do that not by reducing the price, it's just increasing the quality of the coffee.
Yeah, but don't compare with the Saudi market because, as I said, that the purchasing power is not big, but we have to put an effort to make a lot of exhibition, to have brokers in this area because the market had the opportunity. Thank you, everyone, for attending our session. Thanks so much.
Thank you. If any questions are there. No questions? We are happy.
Thanks so much.
That means it was clear. Hold on. Very active today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for this really enlightening exhibition, presentation about specialty coffee in the Middle East. And we really appreciate you highlighting these points. I have a question for two parts. Number one is relating to experimental processing, which you mentioned. All the funky processing, anaerobic, adding fruits to green beans to create this new exciting flavors. It is your side as a roaster and an importer to feed back these requirements to the farmer, right? And of course the farmer, they need to be active to see what you would like. So in terms of cupping sessions, etc., etc. You do it, but then there is an example here where our friends in Egypt don't necessarily have great connection to these farmers. So what would be, in addition to what you mentioned here, a point for both our importers in Egypt or anywhere else, as well as the exporters to engage further on this?
Usually you give feedback directly either to farmers, either to importer. Let's say, consider that these funky coffees, they don't have a huge volume. It's not a big volume to create concern to farmers, to create concern to importers. It's not the biggest chunk of trade. It's a very small percentage. It's somewhere around, I would say like around 4 or 5% up to now. Probably it will grow.
Sure.
So it shouldn't have an impact to the importers. How to help Egypt to get these coffees. Every importer has his own tools to search to see if there is a demand for that coffee, because it's useless to buy 2 tons of passion fruit fermented coffee and just you stuck with that for 2 years. You didn't do anything. First of all, you need to see what's the demand. Then you have to consider yourself as an importer. I'm not an importer, but I see it in this way. With the importers, what we deal, we say, look, I want this coffee. I want something funky. I want something like early grey tea. Can you get me something like that? And they answer, I don't have anything, but I will search for it. So they connect with the farmers and they ask them, do you have something similar? And that's the way. So usually importers, they have their own tools to get the coffees from the farms if it's required. If it's not required, you don't do the deal.
Fantastic. I think also producers would like to hear from people like you, yourself, ourselves as roasters on this. So it's very important to attend events like PRF annually and meet with the farmers. Mostafa, thank you very much for highlighting and really doing a great effort to increasing or at least starting the trend of importing coffee from El Salvador and Egypt. I hear that you will be probably one of the first, if not the first, to import in this. You being present here is the first step here. And I think everybody here in the coffee community knows that the coffee community is all about working together and collectively. What would be your advice to producers who listen to us today to work with the many Mustafas in Egypt, and how can they find you?
Thank you for your question. As I said, we have to start small and then we become big. So, as I said, as importer, because I'm importer and roaster, so I know the cycle. We are looking for having the mixed container is very important. I didn't find a lot of people can do mixed container. Here I found some farms that ask me for, we can do for you commercial and take 20 bags of specialty coffee. This is good because 20 bags for me it's nothing. I can start with it. If I success, I'm going to ask for container. Container, if it's success, I'm going to ask 2 containers. As I started in commercial, I didn't start with 20 containers at the beginning. I started with 1 container. So what I'm looking for, because the specialty coffee is very expensive, is to make the container. For me, for example, I can take, for example, from Dubai, a mixed container. Someone, for example, having Salvador coffee, Brazilian coffee, Colombian coffee, Honduras coffee. So I can take 1 bag from each. This is good for me to start and to have making a copying event and to represent the specialty coffee, and then it's going on. The market, I see the opportunity in the market.